This is Rogers TV.
Well, I know today will be time well spent here on An Hour to Give. You're going to learn all about the Youth Services Bureau. I'm Sam Laprade. I'd like to introduce you to Mike Wade. He works for Youth Services Bureau in a very important role. Mike, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And it's really a lovely introduction. I like to think that I really help facilitate a lot of the great work that's done at YSB, and I get to be really involved. So thank you so much. We're really happy to be on the show today.
Well, we're excited you're here too. So tell me what you do. You've got an important title. Tell us what it is.
Yeah, very important title. I am I'm the assistant director for our community services department. Yeah. My department really focuses on, the coolest stuff, like housing and homelessness and poverty reduction. And I think this is something that's very present in the media. Everybody knows the challenges that we have with housing right now. So that's really the focus of my department. Specifically, we have two youth shelters for young people aged 16 to 21. We also have 2 transitional housing programs, which they're sort of like practice apartments where young people get a kitchenette. Yeah, you get a kitchenette and you're gonna get, your own washroom. You pay kind of like rent as well, so it really mimics having your own unit, an apartment, where you get to practice and develop the life skills that you need to move on into housing or your next steps in life.
So you're saving and changing lives, basically.
It feels sort of all in a day's work. It feels very. I like to be humble about it, but I do find a lot of value in what I do. I went, going to school and really thinking about what I'm going to do as a career. It had to be something that was meaningful to me and had an impact for people. So I think that was really what drew me to this type of work. Yeah. I've been working with YSB for about 6 years now, and overall in the field for I think 13, 14 in and around that range. So it was really a calling for me to be able to help homeless individuals in the city, because I do firmly believe that housing is a right and everybody should have access to housing.
Absolutely.
No one should be homeless.
100%. And I think, Mike, to be frank, is that we think about maybe a decade ago, you'd see maybe a story, maybe once every couple of weeks about the housing crisis or any housing issues and homelessness. Now, to your point, it's daily. And when we think about youth, I think it adds that extra lens, right?
Yeah, it's pretty, you do hear the stories a lot in the news right now. Housing is a huge thing. I would actually also say, too, that youth is something that's forgotten about. When we speak about homelessness in, I think, the mainstream society, media, whatever kitchen table discussions that you're having, it really focuses on adult homelessness. You think, well, young people have their parents there. They're going to be able to take care of them. This isn't always the case. Unfortunately, a lot of the young people do come to us from like a fight or division, maybe an identity issue related to being queer, and they're unable to live at home anymore. So they do find themselves in immediate need of somewhere to live. And that's where our shelter component comes in. And then from there, we really like to try and work with the young people to be able to get them to next steps in their lives. The 16 to 21-year-old age range is actually goes to 24, but it's particularly important because those are considered the transitional age years. So I think a lot to myself and my son, actually, when I think about this position that I work in, what was I like at 16? And I can tell you, I was nowhere near as responsible as half of these young people who are coming to us, and they have these major life decisions to make without the support of family. So we kind of fulfill some of that role to be there for them, to help guide them on next steps. School, super important. Education, housing, employment. So we're going to work with them on all of those things while providing a safe space that they can live in for, as long as they sort of need to until they move on to next steps.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
And I think many people think, about youth as being sort of held by their families, and that's not always the case. I have a daughter who's 16, about to be 17.
Amazing.
And I think about, even just preparing her for life, and she has a supportive home.
Yeah.
So when somebody comes to you and they're telling you their story, how do you sort of make sure that they're going to be caught by YSB and not end up on the streets?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, whenever a young person comes to us, we are always looking to hear kind of what the needs are. We're doing an assessment, we're engaging with them, we're really trying to understand what supports they're looking for. And so if they identify any of those needs, then hey, if we have a spot, come on down. And I think you actually hit upon something really important too when you were talking about supporting your daughter, even in your own household, no kind of familial problems. Young people really, within that age, they need the support and understanding that their decisions matter and that they are actually able to have a positive impact on their life. So many of the young people we see, are coming to us really disempowered. I would say at times even institutionalized to believe that, you know what, what do you want me to do? You're the adult, I'm the young person, you tell me what I'm doing next. And that's really not the case. Working with people, you need to know and understand what their wants are. What do you want to be? Where do you see yourself in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years from now? Because a lot of that foundational work is what we're going to start working on within this age range.
It's hard conversation to have, but I have to ask, and I know every situation is unique, but are you alluding to abuse, that maybe people have come from a situation where they haven't been able to use their own voice?
Yeah, there is a myriad of causes for homelessness, and abuse is one of them, certainly. At times, the family home is not a safe place to return to. At times, they were fleeing abuse or neglect, violence in the home. So then, having said that, though, I would also say that that's not necessarily the only reason for young people really needing a focus on their voice. I think a lot of us, as we're growing and learning, really don't know how impactful our choices can be on our lives. We really rely on the adults. So certainly that is absolutely one reason for. But in general, I think within that 16 to 24-year-old range, the importance of positive youth development, like you're transitioning into becoming an adult. You need to know that your decisions matter. You need to know that you have options, and it's like a very hopeful thing I do. I find working with young people, the possibilities are limitless. You can really do anything you want, which is I personally find it's such a hopeful message, and it's one of the things that definitely motivates me, like every day to come into work.
Okay, so that was going to be my next question. So it's Monday morning.
Yeah, it might be.
It's 6:30 in the morning.
Ahead. Yep.
And you're like, okay, I'm going to take on another week. Is there a person that you hold maybe a little bit closer to your heart that you've helped? Maybe you've seen them come in to the YSB, to the Youth Services Bureau, and you've seen them and their life has been changed?
Honestly, there's so many. And I consider myself very fortunate because my role is a little more managerial. I'm not doing the day-to-day anymore, having, becoming a veteran in my career now. But I do get to engage with the young people a lot that were in shelter. And you do actually get to see a progression in their lives as they maybe spend a year in shelter and they receive a housing opportunity, and then we're off into housing, or maybe it's part of one of our social housing buildings. So then we're having an event, the social housing building, and I get to catch up with someone that, and I do think actually there's one young man in mind who had a particularly challenging, when he first landed with us. But since I think working with us, he's really found his way, he's found a path, he's in housing right now. I actually saw him last week, and it was, it's lovely to see the change in young people as they grow and develop.
This time of year, we're in that holiday period. Does it become even more challenging to know that there's some of our youth in our community that are maybe being away from their families, and maybe that's not a safe place for them to be, but they're sort of navigating this first holiday season without family?
That's a really great question, and I actually think about that a lot this time of year, because holidays for me, as I was younger, were like super important, and now that I have a son, they're also very super important in creating that family tradition. Yeah, I mean, that is kind of one of the things that I do find challenging with this work is understanding the situations and circumstances that led young people here. Having said that, though, not all relationships with family, even though they can no longer live at home, are necessarily going to be a no-contact situation anymore. Good point. So it's actually really great when we get to see that support or connection come back together. And holidays, oddly enough, can be a time where there is sort of an incentive to reconnect. So on occasion we do get some nice stories out of the holidays, but you're absolutely right, that can be particularly challenging to know that. It's important though, because we run these are residential programs, so they live with us 24/7. So we also do our best to provide as much of a sense of community within the program. So yeah, absolutely, we celebrate the holidays, we celebrate the important milestones and marks throughout the year, and Christmas, the holiday season is no exception. So we're actually ramping up right now to provide some amazing presents for everybody within all of our programs. Special Christmas dinners. As a matter of fact, this past Wednesday we decorated the Christmas tree, so it was quite nice actually.
We only have about a minute, but I just have to ask: would you do anything else? Because there's this sparkle in your eye.
Oh no,
so I can see that this is what you want to do.
No, I honestly wouldn't. I really enjoy the work that I do. I think it's incredibly important. It's like I said earlier. Everybody has a right to housing. They deserve to be supported. No one should be living on the street. And I find that is really where that calling comes from. I actually can't envision myself doing anything else. Maybe teaching at one point. I do like engaging. Maybe the next generation, trying to teach and orient and make them understand the importance of values when working with young people, for sure. Maybe. But right now, I'm quite happy where I am.
We like where you are.
I like where I am. I think we do excellent work. I'm very proud of the work that we do as well. Really providing opportunity.
And here's what's great is we're going to get to meet lots of other people associated with Youth Services Bureau today. Mike, this has been great, and I can just that your passion comes through 100%. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Sam. I really appreciate it.
Mike Wade joining us today on An Hour to Give, and we're so happy that you're here learning all about Youth Services Bureau. We're going to get a chance to meet some wonderful people associated with this organization. We're going to stay right here. We hope you come right back. Stay with us on An Hour to Give.
This program is brought to you by Rogers Xfinity, connecting you to more of what you love. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
Hey everybody, my name is Karen. I'm here with my best friends Shane and Monique. Join us on Rogers TV for Fitness Faction. Every week we're going to take you through a full body workout. We've got strength training, we've got cardio, we've got HIIT. Ladies, let's get back into it.
I think we've got 10 more skaters. Let's go.
Summer days, summer nights, lots of things to do, places to go, and people to see. If you're having a few drinks, be sure to plan ahead and get home safely. We don't want to pick you up. Drinking drivers risk injuries to themselves and others and take chances with their license, their jobs, and their future. Remember what's at stake and choose your ride, whether you're the driver, the passenger, or the party host. Thanks for supporting sober driving. I hope we never meet.
Visit arrivealive.org to find out more.
It's closing time, and you stayed out longer than you planned. So now you can't drive, and the buses have stopped running. You could always call your girlfriend. Or maybe your roommate? What about your best friend? You could just dial 1-888-TAXI-GUY or use the Taxi Guy app. The call and the app are free, and they both connect you to a local cab company to bring you home safely. Visit ArriveAlive.org to find out more. Arrive Alive, drive sober.
And we're back on an hour to give. Today is all about the Youth Services Bureau and the Youth Services Bureau Foundation. We've got the one and only Patty Murphy here, and she has brought the one and only Rebecca Murray. And we're so excited to have you both here. Patty Murphy, tell me what your important job is.
Thank you, Sam. Great to be here, by the way. Yeah. I'm the very proud Executive Director of the YSB Foundation and have been for almost 9 years now.
9 years?
Yes.
Okay,
indeed.
I would never have guessed 9 years.
Yes.
That's amazing to have you there for that length of time,
yes.
which allows you to establish some great relationships in the community. And of course, one of those being with Rebecca Murray. Rebecca, what's your role?
I'm the chair of the board, and I'm the very fortunate person that gets to work with Patty.
Yes.
On YSB initiatives.
Yeah, it's so important. And really, when people think about foundation, they think fundraising. Mm-hmm. You're trying to obviously raise as much money as you can. You've done a wonderful job of really taking YSB, I think, to the next level. Mm-hmm. Tell me a little bit about the needs right now. What are the needs of the YSB?
Well, Sam, we operate in 4 different program areas. So YSB has been around almost 65 years and working predominantly in 4 areas. So youth mental health, shelters and housing, youth justice, as well as employment. And employment is the only program area that spans all ages, so it's youth as well as adults as well. So those 4 areas are what we're always trying to raise awareness and fundraising for, to be able to meet the gaps where there's funding gaps.
That's wonderful. So as a volunteer,
yes.
You get to work with Patty and see the impact of these dollars raised.
Absolutely,
yeah.
Absolutely. This year's Rise and Thrive Breakfast, which has become our signature event for YSB, brought out the community in droves. And Sam, I remember when I walked into that room, it was a room that was alive. It was cheerful. It was hopeful. It was full of community support for YSB initiatives.
And so that speaks volumes, because
Absolutely.
It means when you have a breakfast like that, I've attended these breakfasts before. They are sort of an event that brings everybody together. Because you're going to get up that early in the morning. You believe in the cause, Patty.
That's
right.
It. It's not just the coffee and the breakfast.
Exactly.
It's bringing those people together. It's the storytelling that happens in the room. It's young people sharing how YSB changed their lives. It's parents being in the room. It's business owners who perhaps are employing someone who used to be a client. They may never know that piece, but it's that whole sort of vibe in the room. And I think this year we had about 30% of our attendees brand new to YSB, didn't know about our work. So
Which
that's
is
also
so
important. Very much so.
Now, I'm going to take you back to the spring when we were at an event together, and one of your incredible people spoke. One of the people that went through the program had her life changed, and I was a puddle,
Yes.
Bit of a sensitive gal to begin with, but I looked over at you and I went, I get it, Patty. I get why you do this work.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about this time of year. What are you looking for? We want people to take action today.
Yeah, I think if we think back to our own lives when we were teenagers, maybe we had a smooth sail right through, but most of us had some things that were struggles. I have 2 daughters. I think about them, and at that age, they're a little bit older now. We were all teens at one point in time, and it's not always the easiest time. And when I think about 2024, social media, so much has happened since we were, in that age range. And so sometimes young people need a little bit of help, maybe for a short time, maybe for a longer time, and maybe together with their families. And that's what YSB does. It's really looking at meeting a young person where they're at and where we can best support them so that they can be independent and become active members of our community. They're going to be our colleagues, they're going to be our neighbors, parents, volunteers. So this work at this stage in their life is so critical.
So I see a big bubble over Patty's head as she's talking, and it's the word hope.
Yes.
It's the word hope, that there's hope for young people, because I think a lot of young people feel a bit hopeless. They've gone through the pandemic. We're still feeling that. I don't like to say the P word, but I think young people specifically are still feeling the effects, because they had their childhoods erupted in many ways.
Well, there's that. And let me just tell you how I came to this work.
Yeah.
Years ago, YSB had a sleep out where there was a group of people that would come in front of City Hall and we would raise awareness for homelessness. And it was always at the end of November, cold, wet, dreary. And I would come out with my family. We'd set the tent up, and I remember in the middle of the night waking up, and you know, my kids. I was very privileged. My kids were with me; they were all sleeping soundly, and I was up, and I could hear that dim of the city. And then I thought, God, and it was so cold that night. You could barely get warm, and I was thinking, there are kids out here that don't have a place to stay. They don't have a place to sleep. How do they get up and go to school? How do they get a job? Like, this is really, we need to do something about this. And so that's where my kids became engaged. They became ambassadors for YSB in their schools. And to give that sense of you don't have to be alone if there's a problem. There's YSB, they have services, they have mental health services to get you out of that spot and to help families as well. And for the kids that don't have the home support that Mike talked about earlier today, we can be that support for you in our community housing that we offer. And we have a program called Room to Grow. This is where a child gets to, and Mike spoke about it as well, where a child gets their own apartment. And can you imagine the first time they open that door and there is a bed with fresh linen there? This is one of our fundraising initiatives as well. You can have a group of people come together and sponsor a room, and it makes all the difference for our young people.
You know, the best thing you can do for a fundraiser is give them a fantastic chair. And so what you just said, not a lot of chairs can really share the message of an organization. So led by volunteers like Rebecca, having someone dynamic like yourself, I can see why you're a great team. And so let me ask you, we need to raise money, as you talked about, obviously, to do all these things. How are we doing that? You've got a big event coming up February 22nd. I want everyone to know about it.
Coldest night of the year, so just, channeling Rebecca's thoughts around a previous event that we held for 12 years. The coldest night of the year is interesting. It's a national event. So in about 165 communities, people are all walking as a group. 2K or 5K, our route happens to be from our young men's shelter to Lansdowne and back. We have a little bit of food to start out. We hear from a young person a little bit about their journey. Our participants get a tour of our shelter led by youth that are residing there along with their staff allies and partners. And it really is talking about the value, as Rebecca just mentioned, of having safe, welcoming, inclusive shelter and housing matched with tremendously compassionate staff who so believe that this work is critical, because the idea of preventing youth homelessness also helps us prevent adult homelessness.
Oh, brilliant.
Housing a youth now, wrapping around them with all the support, making sure they're able to go to school, that they have a bus pass, that they can see friends, that they can see their families, if that's safe to do so, sets them off on a completely new course in life. And so that is the beauty of the work, doing it now so that we can help prevent adult homelessness as well.
So we're going to learn all about that. We're going to go to the website, learn all about that great event, of course, happening February 22nd. We want to mark our calendars. I think about corporations getting involved. You've done a great job of really embracing corporations. Talk to me a little bit about that, Rebecca. If somebody's listening right now and they still want to get involved for this holiday season, it's not too late.
It is not too late.
Yes.
There are all sorts of ways that they can participate. We have a pantry food program, so they can participate that way. They can do a workplace event in one of our shelters. They can volunteer with us. They could sponsor a room as a group. We have so many rooms that need to be sponsored, and that is the perfect thing for a corporation to participate in. They could sign up early for our next Rise and Thrive breakfast in the fall, and they can sponsor us. we can create things, we can co-create things with them.
Yeah.
The beneficiaries are our young people, and there is a multiple things that they can support.
Here's one thing I love about Patty Murphy. You already got October 16th. You're getting me to circle that on my calendar because I'm going to rise and thrive that morning with YSB. So talk to me a little bit about, because we know it's a long ways out, but there's a reason you're telling us now, is because we want to bring new people, right? So if I know about YSB, I should be bringing somebody that doesn't know about YSB, right?
That's it. And our board members are so wonderful at that. When we have initiatives like Rise and Thrive, even some of our smaller events, bring someone who doesn't know anything about our work, or maybe knows part of it, but not the housing or the justice piece or the employment piece. So bringing those new audiences in to really see, and also we want people to know about our services, because there might be a young person within their workplace or at home who needs our support. And so it's a way of us sharing what the work is that we do and how easy it is, very low barrier to be able to access our support, whether it's a crisis phone conversation. And we say crisis, we want people to reach out before they're having a crisis, but crisis phone line, crisis chat service, all of those services we want people to know so that they can refer a young person or a parent or a educator, a coach, refer them to us so that we can have a good conversation.
You're like that hub, right?
That's it,
right.
Exactly.
We only have about a minute left. It's gone by so fast with you both. But talk to me a little bit about the board and how important it is that they're engaged.
Oh, they are wonderful. They are engaged in everything that we do. We have a board member that donated a car to our justice.
Wow.
Because, our Trade Tamarack Center is a place where people can rebuild, get confidence, develop skills so that they can get back and go to school and get in the workplace as well. We have, our board is phenomenal. They really are. They have great reach. They reach out into their own personal networks, their friends, their corporations to support YSB. They're a very passionate, wonderful group of people to work with.
That's amazing. And we want to encourage those donations. Now, we know that there's a Canada Post strike, Patty.
Indeed.
I don't have to tell you twice.
No.
So those online gifts are going to be really important right now. Where are we sending people to make a donation today?
YSB.ca, you'll see our donate button.
Yes.
Maybe you'll see donuts too. I hope I see donuts when I look. I see donuts everywhere, but donate, that button is on every page of our website. They can call us, they can reach out through LinkedIn, they can connect by phone, any way possible in terms of donations. We're more than happy to be on that receiving end.
Yeah, for sure, because I think about how impactful this strike has been, and I think as a board chair, you were probably like me November 15th going, please don't go on strike. There's lots of reasons they're on strike, and we're not judging any of that, but certainly from a philanthropy perspective, it has impacted. So we only have about 10 seconds, but encourage people to send in their donation online.
Absolutely, please do. You are helping a young person and giving them hope for the future. And that's why we're here.
Absolutely. Beautifully said. Thank you both. Could have talked to you two for an hour. Absolutely. All about YSB, the Youth Services Bureau. Thank you so much. Rebecca Murray joining us today, and Patty Murphy sharing their passion for Youth Services Bureau. When we come back, more about this incredible organization. I know you're coming back. Stay with us on An Hour to Give.
Welcome to community news and events on Rogers TV, Channel 22. I'm Ramon DeFranco with a terrific Ottawa tradition to share with you. Wayne Ross Dad and Friends Christmas in the Valley is a series of shows taking place in December. There are shows coming up in Cornwall and Pembroke, and the final show at the Meridian Theatres at Centerpoint in Ottawa on December 19th. Net proceeds help the CHIO Foundation and food banks in each city. This year's show includes special guests. World-renowned fiddler and vocalist Kelly Trottier and Bradley Scott, one of Canada's premier guitarists and fiddle players, will be there. Rumor has it that Santa Claus himself will be making an appearance. Google Christmas in the Valley with Wayne Rostad for showtimes and tickets. Watch Fit Over 50 with Meg weekdays at 8:30 a.m. right here on Rogers TV, Channel 22.
I'm Wendell Clark with a word about winning. We all know it takes a team effort in any sport and with any challenge. you can be a part of the winning team that shuts out impaired driving. Whether you're out on the town or just hanging out with friends, drink responsibly. Always have a plan for a safe ride home for yourself, your family, and your friends. You'll be helping to shut out impaired driving.
Visit ArriveAlive.org to find out more. Arrive Alive. Drive sober.
Kids these days, people say we lack initiative.
And technology, that we're all addicted.
Kids these days, we hear that we only care about ourselves. Apparently, we're lazy.
And don't seem to have any sense of independence.
Actually, kids these days are facing a lot. Because the world has changed, and so have our health issues. Kids these days, we could really use your help. Join CHIO in our biggest fundraising campaign ever to transform pediatric care.
Well, the time has come to introduce you to the CEO of the Youth Services Bureau, and that is Nina Gorka. She is here today, ready to share her story. Nina, I'm so excited for you.
I'm so excited to be here.
Because this is a new role for you.
I was 6 weeks old, yeah, brand new.
6 weeks old,
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's good, because we got you at that, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm here stage.
That's right.
Which is wonderful, because this is a great organization. I know you know that.
Oh, this is one of the best organizations I've ever seen. Not only that, but one of the best I've ever worked for, and I can say that with confidence at only 6 weeks old. Yeah. So I'm very excited to be here.
So talk to me a little bit about your journey, because you're from this region, right?
That's right, yeah. So I actually grew up not too far from here, just kind of over the border in Wakefield. And I started my career in Ottawa, working in the social services here, and it feels a bit like full circle moment coming back to YSB. I used to run a group. I was working for another social service, but I ran a group for YSB at their drop-in center, a young women's program. And I completely fell in love with the organization at that time. And so, yes, I've gone away and I've done lots of things in that time frame, but there was a tug, I think, always on my heart to come back as part of this organization, and just the gratitude I have to be able to sit in the position that I do today is overwhelming for me.
So 6 weeks in, you jump on an elevator, you're going 20 floors up.
Yeah.
What are you saying to the person next to you about your new job?
So what's my elevator pitch? Yeah. So I think first and foremost, and I've shared this with the staff as well, because I think it's important that they know, and this is an organization that is a heart organization. These are folks who be here because they want to be here. You heard it both from the two folks who were here before, with Mike, with Patty. You know, these are people who are committed to the work that we want to be doing. That it is a multi-service organization, so we have programs in employment, youth justice, housing, community services, mental health. We have 375 staff, which is amazing to me, and we're serving 3,000 families every month. So I can't even begin to describe the impact that that has on the Ottawa community.
So those are two numbers that are going to stay with me for a long time.
I'm glad.
Because 375 staff blows my mind.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah, we're big.
3,000 families.
3,000 families.
Like, I'm trying to visualize that, which is hard to do. That's a lot of families.
It's like the entire population of where I grew up.
Okay, yes, I love Wakefield. Yes.
Yeah.
So that's a great sort of way to kind of compare. So was that surprising to you when you applied for the role?
Yeah, I think the breadth and scope of the work that's being done was surprising. I think the impact is not surprising. I felt it 20 years ago. I feel it now. But yeah, that breadth and scope is amazing to me. And I think one of the things what stands out for me about YSB and what I love so much about the organization is that we really provide a wraparound support. So we're so lucky, we're so privileged, we're so fortunate that we have all these different programs, because we have to recognize that when youth are coming to us, we can't silo out one part of them. We can't partition one part of them. So if someone is showing up with a challenge related to homelessness or housing, well, there's probably some type of complexity, or perhaps some complexity when it comes to mental health or physical health or employment or education. And we have the ability to really provide those wraparound services, that really holistic piece. And I think that's what makes us unique, and that's really what makes us kind of stand out in the work that we do.
Have you allowed yourself, I mean, every organization has a strategic plan, and you know, obviously that's really important, but have you allowed yourself to dream for the next 5 years? Where's this organization by 2030, for instance?
That's an excellent question. I would say I'm in the early stages of dreaming. I am definitely a dreamer. That is really important to me, and thinking about future state really matters. especially in social services, I think, and youth services in particular. I often equate the type of work that we do in social services does as kind of being the first responders within a city. And that's not to take away from the work that EMS does, but we feel the impact of a changing face of the city first. So if you're thinking about if there's a change in migration, if there's a pandemic, if there is a change in how people process mental health or things that are popping up, those challenges, those issues that we need to confront, they're at our door before we've even had the chance to sort of understand what they are. So part of it is about dreaming future state, and part of it is also about thinking about how do we be nimble, how do we stay responsive, how do we stay current, especially when it comes to youth, because I heard you say you also have a daughter at home. Youth keep us on our toes,
They do.
right? They challenge us to make sure that we're current. So I think there's kind of this dance about where do I see ourselves, but also, so that dream, but also staying current. Do you know what I mean when I say that?
Absolutely.
I think that really matters. And I'm in that stage when I think about future state is I want to hear from the folks that we're working with, and I want to hear from the clients that we're working for and alongside. They're going to be the ones who are going to help me inform that future state. I don't, that's not my decision to make. I might sit in this seat, but ultimately this organization belongs to the participants that are in our programs, and they're the ones who are going to get to decide what that future state is.
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, we think about, I was born in 1971, so I was a teenager, in the late 80s when the music was fantastic. But when I think about that, I also think about what would have worked in 1988 certainly is not going to work in 2024, 2025 in terms of, even social media. I say all the time, social media, I don't know what I would have done in social media days if I was a teenager. So times have changed.
Yeah, and I think that is the beauty, the gift, and also the challenge of the work that we do, right? So how do we make sure we are staying current? How do we make sure we're being relevant? How do we not do the things we did 20, 30 years ago, 10 years ago, quite frankly, 5 years ago? So how do we stay relevant to today?
Absolutely. And so, when you think about the people, the families that entrust the YSB to this work, what message would you want to send to a family that is maybe a bit hesitant to reach out, or maybe there's a youth that's listening or hearing us today, watching us today on Rogers, thinking, is YSB for me? How would you share that trust?
Yeah, I appreciate that question. I think knowing that our doors are open to anybody really matters. I firmly believe, people are doing the best that they can with the cards that they've been dealt. And I think if we start from the premise of thinking about people as people and with that openness, and that's what I see at YSB, and that's what I'm proud of at YSB, and that's what I see our staff role modeling at YSB. We want people to be a part of our programs. We're ready. Our doors are open. Wherever you are, everyone is welcome in our sites.
And the foundation and Patty Murphy and all the money that's being raised.
Such a gem.
Well, she's everywhere.
Honestly, she's just amazing.
Like, hi, Patty. Seeing her again at some event, which is great. And that foundation piece is obviously really crucial. And having two boards out there being champions in the community is really important. Encourage us today as you learn about where all the money goes. Encourage us to make a gift today.
Quite frankly, we can't do the work that we do if we don't have strong foundation and donor partners. And that comes from a dollar donation to large sum donations to corporate donations. We just can't do it. We can't do it without the support of individuals. And, there is something unique about YSB is that many people who are donors of YSB have also been impacted by YSB. And I think that that's a real gift of the work that we do is that people have been touched by or know someone or have a relationship with someone who has used our services at some point. Again, I've only been here 6 weeks, and I can tell you in my personal circle, I know folks who are donating to us because they have a personal relationship here. You don't have to look far, you don't have to scratch the surface to see where we're making that impact. But I can't stress enough how important it is for those donations for us to be able to continue to operate all of these services.
And as you're getting to know this organization, is there anything keeping you up at night already?
Many things are keeping me up at night already, if I'm being honest. I firmly believe that how we work with people, families entrust us, youth entrust us to be their ally in the work that we do. And they really have to lead the work that we do, and I think that that's something that keeps me up, is how do I make sure, and how do we as an organization make sure that youth are driving the work, and how do we make sure that we can sustain that work, because that's just not optional. While there's still homelessness, while there's still struggles around mental health, while there's still employment needs, we see challenges growing, and that's a concern for me. You know, everyone should have a safe place to land at night. People should be able to have a living wage income. They should be able to feel a support system that matters to them, chosen family or otherwise. Those are the things that keep me up on week 6, and I imagine will probably keep me up in year 1, 2, 3, 4.
True.
Yeah.
And I always think about, you know, CEO of Youth Services Bureau or CEO of any nonprofit that's doing impactful work. It's the people you've mentioned. It's your team. How do you ensure that they are also being cared for, that they care for themselves, so that they can be the best people they are for the youth of this community?
Yeah.
That's going to keep you up tonight.
No. You know, what I was going to say sincerely is that I genuinely so appreciate that question, because the work is only as strong and as healthy as your team is. Yeah. And the work is hard. I would love to sugarcoat that and say that, you know, we show up. This is not a 9-to-5 job. It's not for any of our staff, right? The impact that lays with you when you're doing work with people. It does. It impacts your health. It impacts your wellness. And so I think how we take care of each other as a team really matters. Little things, again, it sounds kind of silly, but make sure you take your vacation. You know,
for sure.
I get that. Take your time off. Access your own counseling services if you need them. Those debrief sessions, opportunities to check in with each other. I will say, even in these short 6 weeks, I've been able to see how, in particular, the leadership team takes care of each other. I've seen a real strength in their ability to navigate emergency, crises, all of these pieces. And I think if we can lean on each other and do those pieces together, we're better off for it.
Absolutely, and I think that you've obviously got a well-established team. I can't believe the organization's been around 65 years. That was a shock to me.
I know.
I've learned a lot today, but such a wonderful addition to the team, and I really do appreciate everything that you're wanting to do for this organization. We've got just a minute left. What would you say to someone today that's maybe never heard about the Youth Services Bureau, and encourage them to head to that website and learn more about you, to maybe make a donation?
You know, I would say if you're curious, check us out. We're not hard to find. There's social media. There's our website that I think I maybe even saw you posting at the bottom of this. So come and take a look at us. Reach out to us. Our doors are open. We want to have that conversation with you. I know Patty would love to have that conversation with you as well. But, you know, the more people that know about us, the stronger we are.
For sure. And I want to as well mention, because of course, the coldest night of the year happening February 22nd. So I know you're going to be there with your toque on.
I will be there,
And you're going to be all ready. Then circled on your calendar, whether you've circled it or not. I know someone has for you.
Yes.
October 16th, Rise and Thrive, that big breakfast that happens. And I remember I wasn't able to attend this year, but I saw so many people that were there, and the pictures and the impact and how you inspired, the organization inspired people that day was big. So so we've got some dates to look forward to.
Absolutely.
It's been great getting to know you.
Yes, you too. Thanks so much for this opportunity.
Wonderful. CEO of the Youth Services Bureau, Nina Gorka, joining us. When we come back, well, we're going to meet someone whose life was changed by Youth Services Bureau. Stay with us on An Hour to Give.
We invite you to play What's My Line?
Welcome, Mrs. Baker. Those folks over there need to guess your extraordinary occupation.
Are you an entertainer, Mrs. Baker?
Yes.
Do people come to watch you perform?
Yes.
Do you travel for work?
Yes, I do.
Do you ever wear a special type of costume?
Yes.
Is your job, physical?
Yes, indeed.
Are you a member of a team?
Yes.
Are you a professional baseball player?
Yes, I am.
Created during the Second World War, the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League included 68 Canadians. One of its brightest stars was my mother, Saskatchewan's Mary Bonnie Baker, a pioneer for women in sports.
Kids these days, people say we lack initiative.
And technology, that we're all addicted.
Kids these days, we hear that we only care about ourselves. Apparently, we're lazy.
And don't seem to have any sense of independence.
Actually, kids these days are facing a lot because the world has changed, and so have our health issues. Kids these days, we could really use your help. Join CHIO in our biggest fundraising campaign ever to transform pediatric care.
Hi, I'm Paula Roy, and it's my pleasure to welcome you back into my kitchen for another season of Paula Roy's Favorite Foods. My approach to food is pretty straightforward. Fancy is fine, but when you're in a time crunch or have a really hungry and patient family to feed, I say simple recipes made with wholesome ingredients that you probably have on hand are the best. And that's exactly what you'll find on Paula Roy's Favorite Foods on Rogers TV.
Well, I don't know about you. I have learned so much about the Youth Services Bureau today, and our time is not done. We still get to chat with the wonderful Cassandra Bourgeois, who's joined us today. Hello, Cassandra. How are you?
I'm good. You?
Good. Tell me your connection to YSB.
So I was a youth at the age of 16 years old, and I found myself homeless. I was misdiagnosed with epilepsy when I was 15 years old, finally. And I had to get brain surgery. And when I had brain surgery, it didn't go exactly the way they thought it was going to go. And I wasn't able to really speak well. I was having a hard time remembering things. Writing even was hard. And I had a family that they didn't know how to deal with it. So about 8 months after my surgery, I found myself homeless.
Okay, there's been a lot of times that I've been speechless on this show. There has not been a lot of times that I've been speechless, but I'm speechless because I had no idea. Because when, I was told you were a client, I did not know that part of your story. To see you today, you would never know that about you. Do you remember that very first night of being homeless?
Yes, I do. Quite well, actually. I was trying to find the location, and I just remember searching for it. And one of the things from my surgery is I had no sense of direction anymore, and I had to relearn new ways to find direction. And not only was that a problem, but I didn't have a phone. So I searched for a very long time just to find the place I could sleep. I arrived there finally at about 12 at night. And I had a 2.5 bus ride the next day to school. And I just remember laying down and saying, man, how am I getting on the bus?
So you still went to school during this time?
Yes. It was a priority to make sure I passed high school like everybody else.
Was that coming from you or someone from in your network? Was that drive to finish high school a drive that came from you?
Well, I had brain surgery to be normal. By that, what I call from that is I used to have anywhere from 0 to like 24 seizures a day. And I had the surgery to be normal. I finally had the surgery and stopped having the epilepsy. So the next step was, how do I continue to now stay normal? And the first one was, how do I pass high school like everybody else?
And did you tell anybody in your school community what was happening, that you were not at home anymore, that you were homeless?
Only very few of my friends, maybe 2 of them knew. The school knew a little bit, but it was hard to find resources. It was very hard to find resources at that time, and there was a big disconnect. So I was just trying to get from A to B every day.
Wow. So how does YSB, how does the Youth Services Bureau enter into your story, Cassandra?
I was just a little bit before moving out. I thought to myself, how am I going to plan this properly? I'm in rehabilitation. I'm trying to relearn basic skills that everyone has. How do I know if this is the right decision with the conflict in my house? So I went to one of the buildings in Lincoln Fields, I think that's where it is, and I they had a service where it was a walk-in, and I walked there, and they would sit down with you and talk to you about what's kind of going on. And I said, I need to make a plan. Is it okay if I move out? How am I making the right decision? And then after that appointment, I came to realize it was the best decision for me.
It's unbelievable how you tell your story. You're so brave. Do you see that you're brave? Is that a word you'd use to describe yourself?
I just don't want to see the same barriers that I saw when I was younger. And if I can help change that, I will.
Mm-hmm. And so take me to the next step. So how did you work with YSB to see the life that you're leading today?
You mean for like when I was a youth going in or now?
Yeah.
Okay, when I was a youth. So at that point, I was living with a friend for a little bit, and then I moved into the shelter.
Okay.
So I kind of went back in, and then I went out, and then back in. When I went back into the shelter, I had a bed to sleep in, and there was a meal if I couldn't find one, and I could actually focus on studying. So I was at the Tim Hortons, the 24-hour Tim Hortons at night, and I knew that if I had to have a nap before going to school, I could quickly stop by, sleep, and then keep on going to school.
Mm-hmm. And how many years ago was this? Give us a time frame.
How many years ago? Wow. This was in 2016.
And how's your life different today, 8 years later?
I was able to pass high school like everybody else.
Yes, I'm so proud of you.
I went to college.
Yeah.
And I've started 2 companies. So wow. I run a construction company that does renovations, drywall, flooring, and demolition, which is my favorite.
I love that.
And I run a nonprofit for youth as well.
That's incredible. That's incredible. Do you see how remarkable your story is, or is it because it's your story, you've lived it? Like, do you see how remarkable it is?
Yeah, sometimes you sit back and go, okay, it's been a wild ride, mm-hmm. But I'm just not done yet.
And when you think about YSB and you share your story, and they were a part of your story, how does that make you feel?
It helps me. It helps me to know that I also can help them as well and give back, and I like to do that as often as possible for the ways that they helped me get from A to B.
Mm-hmm. And this is a difficult question, and you may not want to answer it. Are you connected with your family still?
Yes. I have some connection with my family, and even if it's a little, you take what you can, and you use that, and you let it fill your heart.
Mm-hmm. So I just have to ask, when you think about maybe the next 5 years, where do you see yourself? Where do you see your life going, Cassandra?
I want to build my companies. Mm-hmm. I want to take ideas and make them kind of come to life. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of barriers that I saw in schools and just in our environment that if there's anything I can do to help change that, mm-hmm. I'll do that.
And you think about watching and listening to us right now are probably a lot of people that are either going to give to the Youth Services Bureau Foundation or they already have. What would you say to someone that's made a donation and there could be another Cassandra looking to find her way, and Youth Services Bureau is going to be there to help her?
I'd say these services are vital for youth, and they're here for a reason. And with the help of you guys, it will make people like me their days easier when they're younger.
Mm-hmm. Any regrets?
Regrets? Mm-hmm. I haven't thought about that.
No?
I don't think so.
So that means probably there's none, which is good, which is good. And do you tell people your story? Like, do you tell people that you work with, and do you tell people your story, or is it something you sort of hold a little bit close and you share when it comes to the opportunity with Youth Services Bureau?
I used to. even when I had brain surgery and I was moving out, I maybe told like 3 people. It felt like a weakness. And then I got to know that everyone has something that's wrong. And so everyone is always struggling with something. So how do you know, the more you talk about it and you let other people know that they're not alone, that's the best thing you can do.
Do you see it as your superpower now?
Yeah, I guess that's a way of putting it.
Yeah, I do. I do. You're very inspiring. Do you see other young women being inspired by you around you?
I mentor quite a lot. I hope so.
It's amazing. And in this holiday period, when you think back to when you were going through your struggles, was it difficult as a young person to not be connected to their family at this time of year?
I'm a very goal-oriented person, so at the time it just made me think about how much further I wanted to go. You know, when you have pain, you make it make you stronger if that's all you have right there, right? So instead of thinking about what I didn't have around me, how can I make it happen? And with that, I learned skills.
So are you going to write a book? Because I'd read your book. I mean, it really is inspiring. For a young person, you have a lot of wisdom, and it seems like you're much more mature, much more wise beyond your years. Has anyone ever told you that before?
Actually, about 2 weeks ago was the first one, so you're the second.
Okay. Yeah, it really is a remarkable story. Will you participate in the coldest night of the year and walk with our friends at the YSB to help raise money, or participate in any of the events to raise money for YSB?
I will definitely be looking into it.
Yeah, February 22nd is the day, so we can both mark our calendars.
For sure.
And mark our calendars to be there. It has been so lovely to get to meet you, and like I said, Sam Laprade is not left speechless very often, but today you left me speechless with your story. But you asked a question before we went on air about, what's the most impactful interview. This is it.
I'll take it.
Yeah, this is it. Your story will stay with me for a long time. Thank you. Thank you. Cassandra Bourgeois joining us today. Cassandra sharing her very brave story of her time with Youth Services Bureau. I'm hoping we've inspired you today. How could we have not? And thank you so much to everybody for joining us here on An Hour to Give. I'm Sam Laprade. Until next time.
Connect with us by visiting our website or email us at comments@rogerstv.com.
Get front row seats to Music and Beyond's unforgettable summer festival. Experience world-class concerts, mesmerizing performances, and much more. Music and Beyond presents a new season on Rogers TV.
This is a brain in urgent need of mental health care. But because 3 out of every 4 Indigenous people experience racism in healthcare, she may not get the help she needs.